I never thought I'd be writing one of these posts, but here I am, still in shock about what just happened with my mother-in-law. My husband and I have been married for 5 years, and while my relationship with his mother has never been amazing, it also hasn't been terrible. Just okay. She has always had a bit of a passive-aggressive streak, making little comments about how I keep the house or how I cook certain meals, but nothing that ever crossed a major boundary until now. For some background, my husband and I recently had our first child, a beautiful baby girl named Emma. She's 4 months old now, and we are absolutely in love with her. We had been trying for almost a year, so when I finally got pregnant, we were over the moon. The delivery went smoothly, but postpartum life has been a lot. Between the sleepless nights, the hormonal roller coaster, and just the general adjustment to having a newborn, it has been exhausting. My husband has been incredibly supportive, though. He took paternity leave for the first month and helped with night feedings whenever he could. Still, it's been an adjustment for both of us. Then, when Emma was around 2 months old, my mother-in-law called us out of the blue, crying. She had just lost her job as an office manager at a dental practice where she had worked for over 15 years. The office was downsizing due to financial problems, and her position was eliminated. She had been living paycheck to paycheck in a rental apartment and didn't have any real savings to fall back on. Her lease was ending in 2 weeks, and she had no way to renew it or find a new place without a steady income. She told us she had exhausted all her options before calling us. My husband has a brother who lives across the country with his wife and 3 kids in a small 3-bedroom house, and they said they just don't have space for her. His sister lives in a tiny studio apartment and told her it wasn't possible for her to take someone in. My mother-in-law has a sister, but they've been estranged for years over some messy family inheritance drama, so we were literally her last hope. My husband and I had a long discussion about it. We live in a 3-bedroom house in the suburbs of Michigan. Not huge, but comfortable. We have our bedroom, a nursery for Emma, and a guest room that doubles as my home office since I work remotely 3 days a week as a graphic designer. Taking in my mother-in-law would mean giving up my dedicated workspace, plus adding another person to the mix while we were still trying to adjust to being new parents. But she was family, and the thought of her being homeless in the middle of winter was just too much to bear. So we agreed to let her stay with us temporarily. We made it clear that this was just until she got back on her feet. We figured it would take 2 to 3 months for her to find a new job and a new place to live. She was incredibly grateful, crying and promising that she would help with the baby and housework as much as possible to make up for the inconvenience. At first, everything seemed fine. She was genuinely helpful, which was a relief. She would watch Emma for a bit so I could shower, and she even cooked the dinner a few nights a week. She kept her room clean and told us she was applying for jobs online every day. Sometimes she would go out for interviews. My husband and I felt like we had made the right choice by helping her. But then, around the time Emma turned 3 months old, things started shifting. It was subtle at first. My mother-in-law began making little comments about how I was raising Emma. She'd say things like, "I don't think you're feeding her enough," or "You're holding her too much. You're going to spoil her." At first, I brushed it off. I was exhausted. I didn't have the energy to argue. But the comments didn't stop, and she started slacking on the things she had promised to do. She wasn't helping around the house as much. And when my husband asked if she was still actively job hunting, she assured us she was, but something felt off. Around this time, I had my postpartum checkup. My doctor and I talked about birth control options, and I decided to go with the pill since it had worked well for me before pregnancy. I knew I wasn't ready for another baby anytime soon. Most doctors recommend waiting at least 12 to 18 months between pregnancies for health reasons. Plus, we were still trying to figure out life with one baby, and that was more than enough for us right now. My husband was completely on board with this decision. I kept my birth control pills in the medicine cabinet in our ensuite bathroom, and I took them every night before bed, just like I always had. About a month went by, and things with my mother-in-law continued to shift. She was becoming more and more critical of my parenting, and honestly, it was starting to get under my skin. I tried talking to my husband about it, and he agreed that his mom was being a little overbearing, but thought she was just stressed about being unemployed. He promised to have a talk with her about backing off. Then the unthinkable happened. I started feeling nauseous in the morning. My breasts were sore, and I was beyond exhausted, way more than usual new mom level of tired. At first, I thought it was just my body still adjusting postpartum, maybe a mix of hormones and sleep deprivation. But then I missed my period, and that's when a horrible suspicion started forming in my mind. I tried not to panic. I told myself that cycles can be irregular after having a baby, that it was probably nothing, but I couldn't shake the feeling, so I decided to pick up a pregnancy test while I was out grocery shopping. I didn't mention anything to my husband because I didn't want to stress him out if it turned out to be nothing. I waited until he was at work and my mother-in-law was downstairs watching Emma before I took the test. The moment those two pink lines appeared, I felt my entire world tilt. I was pregnant. Again, just 4 months after giving birth. I sat there on the bathroom floor, staring at the test in shock, trying to wrap my head around how this had even happened. I had been so careful about taking my birth control pills every night. There was no reason this should have happened. I was in a complete daze when I finally went downstairs. My mother-in-law immediately noticed something was off and asked if I was okay. I hesitated for a moment, but eventually told her about the test, and that's when things got really weird. Instead of being shocked or concerned, she smiled. A slow, satisfied smile that sent a chill down my spine. Then she said something I will never forget. "Oh, that's wonderful. Emma's going to have a little best friend. This is exactly what the family needed." Her reaction was so out of place, so unsettling, that I immediately felt sick to my stomach. Something wasn't right. My mind was racing, and before I could stop myself, I asked her point blank if she knew anything about this. And that's when she chuckled. She actually chuckled and said, "Well, those pills you were taking aren't very reliable when they're just sugar pills, are they?" I froze. My heart started pounding in my chest as the meaning of her words sunk in. She had tampered with my birth control. She had been replacing my pills with sugar pills, fake ones she had ordered online. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My mother-in-law, the woman we had taken in when she had nowhere else to go, the woman we had fed and sheltered, had deliberately sabotaged my birth control so I would get pregnant again. When I demanded to know why, her answer made my blood run cold. She calmly explained that she needed another friend in the house, and that another baby would ensure she could stay with us longer. She actually thought that once I had a second baby so soon, I would be overwhelmed and completely dependent on her for help, meaning she wouldn't have to leave anytime soon. She even said that eventually, when Emma got older and I went back to work full time, I wouldn't need her as much. But with another newborn, I would need her for years to come. I was shaking. My hands were trembling, my breath was coming in short gasps, and I felt like I might actually throw up. This woman had violated my body, my choices, my life. She had taken away my autonomy in one of the most personal ways possible, and she had done it with a smug smile on her face. I didn't even think. I just grabbed my phone, called my husband, barely able to form words through my tears. He could hear the panic in my voice and rushed home immediately. When I told him what his mother had done, I saw something in his expression I had never seen before. Pure, unfiltered rage. He confronted her as soon as he walked through the door, and she didn't even try to deny it. In fact, she seemed genuinely confused about why we were so upset. She kept repeating things like, "Families should stay together," and "Emma needs siblings," as if that somehow justified what she had done. She even had the audacity to say, "I'm just helping you have the big family you always wanted," which was insane because my husband and I had always talked about having just 2 kids, spaced a few years apart, not back-to-back pregnancies forced upon us. That was it for my husband. He told her she needed to leave, right then and there. She started panicking, saying she had nowhere to go, that she still didn't have a job, and that we couldn't just kick her out like this. And that's when my husband hit her with something that completely wiped the smug look off her face. He told her that we had been setting aside $300 a month into a 529 plan for Emma's future education. But now, that money would have to go towards supporting the additional expenses of an unplanned second child. And since she was so desperate to have another baby in the house, she could no longer expect any financial help from us. No more free rent, no more food, no more utilities. Her demeanor changed in an instant. She went from smug to desperate, pleading with us to reconsider. She kept insisting she only wanted to help and that she did this for the family. But my husband didn't budge. He gave her 24 hours to pack her things and leave. When she asked again where she was supposed to go, he coldly replied, "You figured out how to tamper with medication. I'm sure you can figure this out too." It's been 2 days since she left. According to the few texts she sent my husband, she's staying in a cheap motel somewhere. I don't care. I'm still trying to process everything. I've scheduled an appointment with my OBGYN to confirm the pregnancy and talk about my options. I'm terrified about the health risks of being pregnant again so soon. My body hasn't even fully healed from the first pregnancy. I don't know how I'm going to handle this. Legally, I've been researching what I can do. Birth control tampering is a legal gray area in Michigan. In some states, it could be classified as reproductive coercion, assault, or even poisoning. But actually prosecuting something like this is complicated. I feel so violated. I don't even know if I have any real legal recourse. And emotionally, I feel completely shattered. This woman lived in my home, accepted my help when no one else would take her in, and then turned around and manipulated my body and my life in the most disgusting way possible. I don't know how to move forward from this. My husband has completely cut her off. He hasn't responded to any of her message except to confirm that her things are out of our house. I guess I just need outside perspective. Am I overreacting? Should we have given her more time to find another place to stay, even after what she did? Do I have any real legal options here? Has anyone else experienced something like this? I feel so lost. I don't know what to do next. Update 1. First, I want to thank everyone for the overwhelming support and advice on my original post. I was not expecting such a response, and reading through your comments has helped me feel validated in my feelings and reactions. I wanted to provide an update on what's happened in the last couple of days. I had my appointment with my OBGYN yesterday, and she confirmed that I am indeed pregnant, approximately 5 weeks along. She expressed concern about the short interval between pregnancies and explained the potential risks. Increased chance of placental issues, premature birth, low birth weight, and maternal anemia or uterine rupture, among others. She's recommended additional monitoring throughout this pregnancy if I choose to continue it. We also discussed my options. Given the circumstances and health concerns, she was supportive of whatever choice I make. I'm still processing everything and haven't made a final decision yet. My husband continues to be incredibly supportive, emphasizing that this is ultimately my choice since it's my body that will be going through another pregnancy so soon. On the legal front, I consulted with an attorney who specializes in family law. The consultation was eye-opening but somewhat discouraging. As many of you pointed out in the comments, proving birth control tampering can be difficult. The attorney explained that while what my mother-in-law did was clearly wrong and potentially criminal, building a case would require evidence that might be hard to obtain now. The pills she tampered with are gone, and it would essentially be my word against hers. However, the attorney suggested documenting everything, saving any texts or emails where she might have admitted to what she did, writing down exactly what she said to me when she confessed, and noting any witnesses to her statements. Though unfortunately, it was just the two of us when she initially confessed. They also recommended filing a police report to create an official record of the incident, even if it doesn't immediately lead to charges. As for my mother-in-law, she's been blowing up my husband's phone with messages ranging from angry to pleading. She's still at the motel but claims she'll be out of money in another week. She's also started contacting other family members, spinning a story about how we cruelly kicked her out with no warning because we misunderstood her helpful intentions. My husband's brother and sister, who previously couldn't accommodate her, are now calling us, asking what happened and suggesting we're being too harsh. My husband has been amazing through all of this, holding firm in his decision and correcting the narrative with family members. He's explained exactly what his mother did without sugarcoating it, and most of them have been appropriately horrified once they understand the full story. His brother even apologized for initially questioning our decision and offered to help mother-in-law find housing in his city if she's willing to relocate. One unexpected development is that my mother-in-law's estranged sister reached out to me directly after hearing about the situation from my husband's sister. She expressed sympathy for what I'm going through and shared some disturbing stories about my mother-in-law's past behavior that paint a pattern of manipulation and boundary violations. Apparently, their estrangement wasn't just about an inheritance dispute, as my mother-in-law had claimed, but about much more serious issues. This information has helped me understand that what happened wasn't just an isolated incident of poor judgment, but part of a long-standing behavioral pattern. Emotionally, I'm still all over the place. I alternate between rage, sadness, and anxiety about the future. I've started talking to a therapist who specializes in reproductive trauma, and even after just one session, I can tell it's going to be helpful in processing everything. As for Emma, she's thankfully too young to understand any of this chaos. She's continued to grow and develop normally, completely oblivious to the turmoil around her. Taking care of her gives me purpose and joy in the midst of this nightmare. I've decided to take a week to make a decision about the pregnancy. My husband and I are researching all options thoroughly and considering the long-term implications to our family, my health, and our financial situation. Whatever we decide, I know we'll get through this together. Again, thank you all for your support. It means more than you know during this difficult time. I'll update again when there are significant developments. Update 2. It's been 3 days since my last update, and a lot has happened that I wanted to share with you all. First, and most importantly, I've made a decision about the pregnancy. After careful consideration, many discussions with my husband, and consultations with my doctor, I decided to continue with the pregnancy. This was not an easy decision by any means, but ultimately, despite the circumstances, we feel that we can manage another child even with the close age gap. My doctor has put together a specialized care plan with more frequent checkups to monitor my health closely throughout this pregnancy. Now for the dramatic development. My mother-in-law showed up at our house yesterday evening, completely unannounced. My husband was still at work and I was home alone with Emma. When I heard the doorbell and saw her through the peephole, my heart started racing. I didn't open the door but talked to her through it, telling her she needed to leave immediately. Instead of leaving, she started shouting loud enough for the neighbors to hear, saying she just wanted to talk and that I was overreacting to what she described as her help with our family planning. I told her I was calling the police if she didn't leave, but she remained on our porch, alternating between crying and making accusations. I followed through on my threat and called 911, explaining the situation and mentioning the birth control tampering. 2 officers arrived within 15 minutes, by which time my mother-in-law had worked herself into quite a state, telling anyone who would listen, which by now included several curious neighbors, that I was keeping her from seeing her granddaughter and that she was just a poor homeless grandmother. When the officers approached her, she initially refused to leave, claiming it was her son's house too, and that I couldn't make these decisions alone. The officers asked me if she lived there, and I explained the entire situation, that she had tampered with my birth control after we took her in when she had nowhere to go, and that my husband had told her to leave our home. I showed them the text from my husband to her, explicitly stating that she was not welcome at our property. The officer spoke with her privately for a few minutes, and I'm not sure what was said, but she suddenly became much more compliant. They informed me that they had advised her not to return to our property, and that if she did, she could be arrested for trespassing. They stopped short of arresting her this time, instead offering to drive her back to her motel, which she accepted. My husband came home immediately after I called him about the incident, and he was furious that his mother had put me through this stress. He called her and made it absolutely clear that if she ever showed up at our house again, we would press charges without hesitation. He also told her that her actions had completely destroyed any chance of reconciliation in the near future. After things calmed down, I spoke with the officers about filing a police report regarding the birth control tampering. They took my statement and said they would document the incident, but were honest about the challenges of pursuing criminal charges without physical evidence. Still, there's now an official record of what happened, which my attorney said could be helpful if further incidents occur. The silver lining to this awful day is that my husband and I had a deep conversation afterwards about our future and how we want to raise our children. We've decided to look into moving to a different neighborhood, possibly even a different city, to put some physical distance between us and my mother-in-law. My husband's company has offices in several states, and he's going to explore transfer options. We both feel that a fresh start might be exactly what we need. As for the family fallout, my husband's siblings have now fully grasped the severity of the situation after hearing about yesterday's incident. His brother has offered to let my mother-in-law stay with his family temporarily, after all, but with strict boundaries in place. She would have to agree to therapy and demonstrate genuine remorse for her actions before having any contact with us or our children. She hasn't responded to this offer yet. My mother-in-law's estranged sister has been an unexpected source of support through all of this. She's shared resources for dealing with manipulative family members and offered to be a witness to my mother-in-law's past behavior patterns if we ever need it for legal purposes. She's also warned us to be prepared for escalation based on her past experiences with her sister. I'm still processing everything and working through my feelings with my therapist. The violation feels even more real now that I've decided to continue with the pregnancy. But I'm also trying to find some peace with the decision and look forward to welcoming another child into our family, despite the terrible circumstances that led to this pregnancy. Thank you all again for your continued support. I'll update again in a few days when things have hopefully settled down a bit more. Update 3. It's been 3 more days and I'm still reeling from everything that's happened, but there has been some major developments that I need to share, and honestly, they've only made this situation even more shocking. The most unexpected news: my mother-in-law was arrested yesterday. Not for the birth control tampering, at least not yet, but for something completely different, and honestly, we never saw this coming. After everything that happened, my husband started digging deeper into his mother's situation. Something about her story didn't quite add up. How she suddenly lost her job, had no savings, and was completely out of options all at once. He decided to call the dental practice where she had supposedly worked for 15 years just to verify the details. That's when we got the first bombshell. Turns out she hadn't been let go due to downsizing like she claimed. She had actually been fired months before she even came to us because she had been caught stealing from the practice. Specifically, she had been manipulating the booking system to pocket cash payments from patients while recording them as insurance claims in the system. The owner of the practice had been reluctant to press charges at the time, given her long employment history, but they had documented everything in case they ever needed to take action. My husband was absolutely stunned, but after everything she had done to us, he felt it was important to bring this information to the police. He also mentioned something else that had been bothering him: small, unaccounted for withdrawals from our bank account while she was staying with us. Nothing huge, just $50 here and $100 there. At first, we assumed they were just forgotten purchases or automatic bills, but now we weren't so sure. The police took our concern seriously and started looking into it. What they found was beyond infuriating. My mother-in-law had apparently been snooping through our home office while living with us, finding our bank statements and even taking photos of our credit cards. She had been using our accounts to make small withdrawals and purchases, carefully keeping the amounts low so they wouldn't raise immediate suspicion. When the police confronted her, she completely broke down and admitted to everything. Between the theft from her former job and stealing from us, there was enough evidence to arrest her on fraud and theft charges. And now, because of this pattern of manipulative and criminal behavior, the prosecutor is looking more seriously at the birth control tampering as well. They're considering additional charges, though we're still waiting to hear exactly what those will be. To say we're in shock is an understatement. My husband is devastated. Not only did his mother manipulate and betray us, but she also stole from her own son while we were doing everything we could to help her. It's like an entirely new layer of betrayal on top of what she already did to me. After her arrest, we immediately took action to protect ourselves. We froze all our credit accounts, changed every single password, and set up fraud alerts. We're also having a full security system installed at our house tomorrow, including cameras outside, because at this point we're not taking any chances. If there's any silver lining to all of this, it's that we no longer have to worry about my mother-in-law showing up at our house or harassing us. She's in jail right now, awaiting a bail hearing. If she does get released, we're already in the process of getting a restraining order to keep her away from us. As for our plans to move, we've decided to stay put for now since the immediate threat is contained. We'll reassess once the legal proceedings move forward. My husband's company has been incredibly understanding, allowing him to work from home more often so I don't have to be alone during this stressful time. On the health front, I had another appointment with my OB/GYN yesterday, and thankfully, everything is looking stable for now. She's monitoring me closely since this pregnancy happened so soon after giving birth, but she assured me that with proper care, we can minimize the risks. I'm following all of her recommendations and trying to focus on staying healthy for both the baby I'm carrying and for Emma. The support from our friends and family has been incredible. My parents are actually coming to stay with us for a few weeks to help out with Emma and provide some emotional support. My husband's siblings have also reached out, apologizing for not seeing their mother's true nature sooner. They had initially questioned why we were so harsh in kicking her out, but now that they know everything, they completely understand and have been checking in on us regularly. Stay tuned for more stories from our girl relationships.